Timothy Dexter may have been the dumb-luckiest piece of crap to ever walk the earth. He did have a really awesome last name, though. He was born to a poor family in Malden, Massachusetts in 1747, and he dropped out of school at 8 years old to become a farm laborer. He became a tanner's apprentice at 16, but moved to Newburyport at 22 to marry a rich widow and gold dig himself up a big mansion. Around the end of the Revolutionary War, he spent most of his gold digging money on actual boatloads of continental currency, which had depreciated to the point of being valueless. Continental currency was money that could be used in the original 13 colonies at different values. But when the United States of America formed like Voltron after the war, they decided to buy back the currency at 1/100th of its face value. Old Timothy made so much money that he bought 2 ships and started an export business to the West Indies and Europe. Pretty soon his business rivals started giving him shitty advice trying to bankrupt him. They told him he should send bed warmers to the tropics, and he did just that. Bed warmers were covered pans with holes that you fill with coals and put under your bed to make you toasty. Well, they didn't have much use for that in the tropics, but his ship's captain ended up selling them to the molasses and sugar industries to be used as labels, and he ended up making bank anyway. And then his haters told him to ship coals to Newcastle, which was a mining town. Well, he did, and the coal showed up at Newcastle just in time for a mining strike and ended up selling for high profits. Dude just can't lose. And he didn't let it go to his head either. He built himself a mausoleum and had over 40 statues of famous people commissioned. He even had a statue of himself made, and it had the inscription, "I am the first in the East, the first in the West, and the greatest philosopher in the Western world." Did I say he didn't let it go to his head? I meant to say he totally let it go to his head. He regularly told people his wife was dead, and when they saw her hanging around the house, he'd be like, "Oh, that's just her ghost." Despite getting rich and buying art and books and all sorts of things seen as aristocratic, the other rich people didn't like him at all. They thought he was crude and acted like an uneducated poor. At one point he faked his own death to see how people would react and told his family to play along. 3,000 people showed up, but he ruined the ruse because he approached his wife in the kitchen and caned her because she wasn't crying in mourning to his satisfaction. Despite being an abusive POS, he was an exceptional writer. Let's read an excerpt from his book, A Pickle for the Knowing Ones. "I am the first lord in the United States of Mercury, now of Newburyport. It is the voice of the people, and I can't help it, and so let it go. Now I begin to lay the cornerstone, with a grat remembrance of my father, Jorge Washington, the great hero." I seriously read the whole thing, and I have to say, people named Dexter sure have a way with words. He got a lot of feedback about his poor spelling and the fact that he didn't put 0 punctuation in the whole thing. So in the second edition, he added a whole page of punctuation marks so that the reader may salt and pepper it as they please. He died in 1806, and his home in Newburyport became a hotel. Storms ruined all but one of his statues, but time remembers the greatest philosopher in the Western world.